Okay, this is the Vitania Pika. It is a 750 watt rear hub motor, 48 volt, 20 amp hour battery system, and it uses 20-inch by 4-inch fat tires. And it weighs about 80 pounds, has a suspension seat, hydraulic brakes, and it's a foldable design, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So it is actually a pretty heavy bike, and it came very well packaged. It was very well padded. There was no damage during the transport. Very well put together. There was very little to do. You just had to put the handlebars and the front wheels and the seats in. And it took me probably about 20, maybe 30 minutes to put it all together. If you're pretty familiar with putting together bicycles, it shouldn't be much of an issue. Here's me putting the handlebars on, and then you just got to get like 4 Allen wrenches. I got my own tools, but I found out that they include some tools in the box later on. They were buried at the bottom, but it comes with all the tools you need to put it together. So if you don't have the tools, then it's pretty easy to do. Comes with an integrated rear rack there. That rear rack is very beefy and very strong and rigid. You could definitely put a person on there. You can put lots of gear on it. This bike has about 400 pounds of cargo capacity. These are the pedals, and the pedals on a bicycle, if you're not aware, there's a side to it, right and left side. So it's not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey on both sides. They both are threaded in a way so that the pedaling motion actually tightens the pedal on more and more. If you're familiar with bikes, you know about that. So you have to put the correct side on. So the hydraulic disc brakes go in there. The brakes are really, really nice. They have good modulation and really good stopping power. I had to adjust the alignment of the brakes. It's pretty easy to do. Okay, so we've put it together, and the initial impressions are that it is really nice. The welds on the body are very smooth, and the paint job is actually very beautiful. Here's the port for charging right here, and here's the lever for folding, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And here's the lever for folding the riser for the handlebars. And a couple of things. Most of the assembly was very straightforward in terms of putting it together if you're familiar with bikes. And so there wasn't too much to it. You just had to put the front wheel on, and then put the handlebars on, and put the pedals on. And that was pretty much it. There are a couple of things that I noticed during the assembly is that this piece right here, the part that the quick release for the seat post, this was just free floating in the box and could have easily been lost. So it was not attached to anything. I don't know if it fell out or something, but it was just free floating in there. And actually there was the little washer right here between the thing. It's a little hard to see, but that washer right here, this washer was, I actually found it in the box when I was throwing away the box. So I would have lost that. These pedals are the folding pedals. You kind of just squeeze them in and they fold like this. Because this is a folding bike. Now this bike weighs like, I don't know, about 70 pounds. It's pretty heavy. I don't know that folding a bike like this is going to help you too much. The hinge is really beefy. This whole thing is very, very beefy. And it's very strong, so I'm not too worried about that. The handlebar also folds down into, so here's, you go like this, and we push this down, and it folds down into this position, which is odd because when you fold it that way, this handlebar will be in between the two folds, which seems like a really weird place to put it. I would think that you'd want to fold it the other way. Anyway, as a folding bike, I don't think this is great. But if you're going to use it just as a regular bike, it is very, very nice. So I'll show you how to turn this thing on. There you go. Screen is great. One thing I noticed that the speedometer was a little off. And the way you fix that is you hold down these two right here. You go into this mode and you go to 6 right here. And this is where you set the diameter of the wheel in inches. And this is a 20-inch rim, but if you measure across the diameter, it's about 23 inches.
might be off a little bit, but now I checked it with my GPS and the speedometer seems very good. It was set at like 26, which is too big of a diameter, and it was overreading the speed on the device. So you can change the level of pedal assistance here. And here's our battery meter. I need to fully charge this thing up. Okay, so back to the assembly. The couple of things that needed to be done is put the front wheel on, put this front fender on. And so the fender, you have to unscrew this thing right here and then attach this on both sides to make this fender go on. That was probably the hardest part of the whole thing and didn't take too long. The whole assembly took maybe 20 minutes. The last thing that needed to be done was these disc brakes. You had to make sure that you aligned them. They were a little bit out of alignment out of the box, and it's quite simple to do. You just unscrew this Allen and this one, this Allen bolt and this Allen bolt, and then you clamp down the brake lever to center it, and then you tighten them back up. So that was fairly straightforward. And so I had to do that for both the front and the rear. The rear was pretty much aligned, but the front was really off. And this front handlebar was a little off from the front wheel, so it was off by about 5 degrees. All you needed to do was unscrew these two bolts right here, and then straighten it out, and that was pretty easy. If you're not familiar with putting together bikes, not feel comfortable with doing that kind of stuff, you can easily take this thing to a bike shop, and they would have no problems doing it. Okay. Last thing is this thing has a light. The light's pretty good. You can turn it on and off like that. It's with this button right here. And here's the derailleur. The whole bike is very high quality. The rear rack is awesome. Solid rear rack. You could probably easily sit a full-grown person on that if you wanted to. There's no foot pegs or anything. It'd be pretty uncomfortable, but you could put a lot of weight on that rear rack. When you turn on the light, this rear light comes on, and when you push the brakes, you can see that the brake lights come on. So that's pretty good.
Okay, so let's take it out for a ride. This is the flat point, and I'm just using throttle, no pedaling. It hits about 28 to 30 miles per hour on a straight without any pedaling. And I have to say, I haven't been on an electric bike, a modern electric bike, and it's very fast, and it's really, really fun. It's more fun than you probably should have on a bike, actually. The ride is very smooth because it has just huge fat tires, and the front suspension is pretty plush, so it goes over bumps no problem, and the ride is very, very comfortable. I mean, I generally prefer the narrower seats like that I have on the road bike that I normally ride to work, and these have these wide plush seats that I think people feel are more comfortable. I honestly don't find them more comfortable, but seat comfort is generally a very individual thing. That's a bump that I'm trying to avoid. I probably could have gone right over it and it would have been no problem. And this is going up a hill actually, and you see it's maintaining on 30 miles per hour. And you see this is a pretty busy road. People go like 50, 55 miles per hour on this, but luckily there's a fairly wide shoulder on here. Okay, and then here you'll see that I come to the middle of the lane. The reason I don't stay to the side is because some cars go straight, and then I'm making a left here. And if I stay to the left of this lane and try to make a left, the people going straight will often just hit me. So it's just safer to take the entire lane there and make a left here. And this has a wide enough shoulder, but you see the takeoff of the bike is pretty fast and reaches upper 20s pretty easily without any difficulty. And I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a slight like a modulation to the motor. I don't know, it's like a little pulsy. It like pulses the power a little bit. At the beginning it's more noticeable, but once it reaches speed it's very smooth. And you can see this is a downhill, and this bike pulls all the way until probably mid-30s. So it continues to give power until the mid-30s, but it just can't reach it on the flats because it doesn't have the power to reach it on the flats. But on a slight downhill, it'll continue to push you into the mid-30s. It's got great brakes, no problems braking at these lights. And then you see the takeoff here. It's pretty smooth. The takeoff is pretty smooth, so it won't take you by surprise or anything. Overall, the bike is very solid. I didn't hear any rattles or creaks or anything. It feels very well built and high quality. What are the things I would change about this bike? Okay, you always have to wave to cyclists here and be friendly. But one of the things I would change about this bike, one of the things is that the front chainring is not geared high enough that you can keep pedaling it. You start running out of gears around 25 miles per hour, and I wish that it was geared so that you could pedal comfortably until about 35 miles per hour. On my road bike, I can pedal comfortably up to about 35 miles per hour, and it's geared high enough. And downhills, I easily hit 35, close to 40 miles per hour on my road bike. And this bike, I could help it along on the downhills up to that speed if it was geared high enough, but it's not. And then the screen gives you these 5 bars for battery, which is the part on the left of the screen there. But I wish it had a percentage bar. I think a percentage bar is much more helpful. I would have made it a non-folder. I think that would have made it a little cheaper and easier to build, and maybe some of those savings could have been passed on. And I don't think that a bike of this size, making it foldable, really helps you that much. It's not like one person can throw it into the trunk of a vehicle or anything. It's going to take 2 people to do anyway. It's not really going to fit in the trunk of a car. It might fit in an SUV or a truck, but then even not folded, the bike's going to fit in this SUV or truck. This is a loud Porsche. Later on in the thing, he buzzes by me at 60 miles per hour, really close, which was kind of a jerk move. But you see that here, I'm taking the lane even though it looks like there might be a bike lane on the right. And the reason is I know there's always cars parked here. And see, if I was on the bike lane, I would have to shift over. There's no space, and if there's a car there, he's going to hit me or I'm going to run into his path, and that's just not a good place to be. But here, there's a bike path that's separate, and there's also cars parked here. And you'll notice that I stay a little bit away from the car because people sometimes open their front door without looking. And that's a pretty common thing that drivers do. They're not looking back, and I don't blame them. So I just give them a little room so that if they open the door's not going to open, right in front of me. What is the other thing I would change about this? I guess that the suspension seat post isn't super helpful. I would put a better seat on there, but I think that's pretty much par for the course. The tourney derailleur isn't the greatest. Yeah, there's the guy passing me at 2 feet away, going 60 miles per hour on a 40 mile per hour neighborhood road. So please don't do that. Don't buzz cyclists really close, even if you're upset at them. It's pretty dangerous. If they swerve, you might accidentally hit them, and you really don't want to kill somebody. That's never anyone's intention. Okay, but overall, great bike. I love the. It was so much fun, and you can run it full throttle. That's not the way it's supposed to be done. I was just doing it this way kind of as a test to see what the worst case scenario range would be on it. If I just abuse the thing and use it full throttle up hills, don't pedal at all, what is the range you're going to get on this bike? So I wanted to torture test it, and that's why I was doing that. Okay, finally did the range test. It started puttering out at 35 miles. It probably had a few more miles left in it, but it was definitely slowing down at this point. I think with some pedaling, it would have easily hit 60 to 70 miles. So bottom line, if you're looking for a fast, comfortable, well-built bike with long range, I would get this. If you're looking for something light and foldable that you can throw into the trunk of your car, this is not the bike. It's too powerful and too big for that. So I wish they would have made it a non-folder and just geared it up a little higher. But overall, great. If you want to buy the bike, link is below, and a coupon for $100 off.